Yeah. Well, welcome to Table Talk. I'm excited here to be joined by my friend, Mr. Alan Fisher, also known as Mr. Intensity. And I've got a lot of questions, but I just wanted to start off with maybe some things that some people don't know about you. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Your parents, what were your hobbies growing up before arm wrestling?
Let me just see off the to start, and thank you for having me. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate this, and it's humbling to ever get interviewed and have that opportunity to go out there and tell people my story.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, about 3 years ago, I found out I had autism, a form of Asperger's. So you you might want to do a three-part interview because I get detailed because when one thing enters my mind, another one is right behind it. It's like it's unbelievable. But going back to your original question, where I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. Particularly, I grew up in Pacoima, Arleta, North Hollywood, and those areas. Um, what's your other question?
Yeah, no, you grew up there, the flashing lights of Hollywood, so to some extent. What was it like growing up there? Were you involved in sports? What were your hobbies? What was your home life like?
It's an interesting question. Boy, oh boy, does that bring a lot of memories. And I don't remember a lot growing up before high school. I have basically no memory. It's like I blocked it all out. I give you the circumstances for it. I grew up in a place where if you didn't learn how to fight, you probably got beat up pretty bad. Okay, so mostly blacks and Mexicans in the Pacoima area, Arleta area, and it's like didn't really get involved in sports, but there's a good reason for that. I was born with a club foot, and that means my foot was turned in like this, and they had no way to repair it. I was in pain from walking, so obviously I couldn't run. So I couldn't get involved in a lot of things that little kids would do, like even walking around the school. They used to make you do that, walk around the perimeter of the school. And I couldn't do it because I was in excruciating pain. They had no way to fix it at the time. So I wore a cast till I was 13 years old, which is why uh, my right foot is actually my right foot. I can't remember. It's three-quarters of an inch shorter than the other. I was the first one they successfully operated on. In fact, they asked me to be the guinea pig for years to come for kids, and God's mercy, it worked, and I never had a problem after that. But saying that, growing up, since I could not do sports, I found myself climbing everything. I used to play on monkey bars like I lived on them. I used to watch kids swing on the swing sets. And these are the tall swing sets that you see in elementary schools. Well, I didn't know I had equilibrium problems. So I used to climb those and look down at the kids swinging. So I used a lot of upper body strength. And because I have a form of ADHD and autism, and I got them all. I couldn't sit still. I had to, as I'm doing right now, I have to keep something in my hand to keep me moving. So I used to rip, tear, break, twist everything I could. I used to like pick up heavy rocks and throw them. Just I had to keep myself moving and moving, moving. Maybe it was a distraction for the pain. I'm not sure. So even my son, who's disabled, sings because he's in pain all the time, and he feels that's a way out for him. So I think God used that, to be honest with you, in the development of who I would become to this day.
Hmm, yeah. Now, I'd read somewhere you were involved in swimming. Is that an accurate thing I saw online?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I actually grew up on the beach. Um, we lived on the beach actually in man-made tents made out of blankets. Is a long story, but yes, I was a swimmer, and I love swimming. Probably because again I didn't have to use my feet, to do different things. That was in high school, junior high. High school, I became probably the third, maybe fourth fastest swimmer in the high school. The interesting thing is, James, I didn't use my legs, and you're supposed to use your legs. So I developed an upper body strength that could rival most swimmers. I hated moving my legs. I don't know why, but I swam all 4 strokes. I was a very decent swimmer, I'd say. I even became a certified lifeguard because of it. But I think it developed, again, the way in which God works in our lives is he used that to develop my subscapularis, and which is the muscle that you use in swimming when you're pulling down, right? And it's connected to your back and connected to your inward outward rotator for arm wrestling. So I've naturally always been strong in arm wrestling because of my swimming abilities. In fact, do you know what the arm and Allen is?
No.
I'm not going to say too much about it. I don't even allow pictures or videos of it. But Steve Lusby, a multiple world wrestling champion and legend in our sport, won this back in the early 80s, and some 14-year-old kid developed it. It's a torque spring machine that mainly went from here to here, and that's all it did. Like no wrist movement, no nothing. Mm-hmm. It was made for wrist wrestling because it's really what there was back in those days. And Steve hated that machine. In fact, John Brzezinski hates the machine. For me, I was a natural at it. The first time I got on it, I could go from here to here and just toy with the machine at a lot of weight, I'll say at least 100 pounds. And that was from swimming. Mm-hmm. I still have the machine today. In fact, I think I'm the only arm wrestler in the world that actually has one. When I retire, it will go up to auction. A lot of those people that actually bid on it. In fact, I opened it up here in Idaho to the guys. I had them come over and we trained on it. Most of them hated it. They couldn't put up with it at all. I think he should have called it, instead of the Arm and Allen, he should have called it Relentless. It's very, very intense. I've never, of all the equipment in the world I've seen and tested, this thing is amazing. And I've made it so that you could, if I could stand up, come all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top, have wrist movement, this movement, everything. I kind of redesigned it more or less. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. So you went from swimming kind of in high school. When did you come in arm wrestling? What was your goals before arm wrestling, and what was the moment you found arm wrestling? What direction were you heading? You bumped into arm wrestling and everything changed.
I had no clue about arm wrestling. I probably did it when I was younger, but I don't remember any of it. I know that when I was in Bible college, they used to challenge me for arm wrestling. But before that, I don't remember much at all. No, I don't. My friends actually, some of my friends found out about a tournament at Magic Mountain in August of 1979. Magic Mountain being down there in California, right? They said, there's an arm wrestling tournament. You should go to it. So I'm not sure why, but apparently I was arm wrestling. So I decided to go. And it was an astounding event. It was NAWA, National Arm Wrestling Association. Larry Siegfried and his wife, they're the ones that began it. They took the arm wrestling table called the WPAA table, over the top table, same thing, which was a wide table from your opponent. And Larry Siegfried was trying to get away from the wide table because things were changing in arm wrestling, and he wanted to go back to the old style of wrist wrestling, narrow table, close to your opponent, crushing inside, that sort of thing. And Larry had a tournament there, a qualifying national event. Larry did a lot for the sport to grow the sport, but he grew it his way with the narrow table. Everybody he trained for an inside move. But they soon found out that arm wrestling was changing and going to outside instead of inside. So with their not knowing a thing. But I'll tell you what, to this day, I'll grab onto people that I don't even know, and I could feel each digit, which one has pressure, which one doesn't, which one is down, which one is up. If the wrist was in, if their shoulder, I closed my eyes when I first arm wrestled and had this hypersensitivity, this hyper awareness of knowing everything that was going on. And while I was not a Christian at that time, I knew God had designed me to be an arm wrestler for the rest of my life. It was unbelievable. So I took I think I took fourth or fifth place at that event. When I was walking out, I met a guy that a lot of people in the old school will know. His name was Jack Popeye Wynn. He was one of the best in the North America arm wrestlers at 150 pounds. Jack found out I'd lived in the San Fernando Valley. He lived in, I think it's Silmar. He said, you should come over and train with me. So I decided to say, yeah, let's do this, because I don't have anything else. The thing was, Jack, as much as I love that guy dearly, he never showed me a thing. His whole point was to crush me with an inside move. And he was very, very good at it. So he would just basically sit up. You can see me. He just sit up and he'd just go like this all the time, not really showing me anything. So what happened was, over time, my arm would be down here and would start to catch him, right? I had won, I don't know how many California state championships, but I told everybody in the San Fernando Valley, all you know who you are. And when I told them I was going to beat Jack Wynn at the California State Championships, the WPA event, I believe it was in Busch Gardens, everybody laughed at me. And I said, well, okay, it's fine. I'm just going to go. So I even have a picture to this day of me. Now, I don't know if you know anything, James, of the WPAA rules. Okay, so it's a two-go system.
Two-go. Yeah.
Count rule.
Yeah.
So when you set up, now it's basically ready to go, and then go, right? So it's two-go system. I got a picture of me and Jack, and we're sitting here in a two-go system at that tournament. And they say ready to go, and I just went like this, and my arm just was so big, I couldn't even believe it. To this day, I look at that picture and I'm like, wow. So Jack, I took out Jack and gained respect from those in the San Fernando Valley and maybe other places too. The two-go system, I'll say right off the top, is one of my best styles of arm wrestling. I love it because I'm too fast for most people, too much power behind my move. For probably 30 plus years, maybe more, I would just slam people before the gut, right? It's just I had this fast twitch muscle again. Like I said, it's like I was designed to be different. So I like the two-go system because it always gave my opponents an ability to, I guess, give them a chance, I guess, more or less. It got us both into the match. And I really like this. This day, I don't think there's anything like it. I wish it would come back and just be there, but it's not.
Yeah.
So Jack never did beat me in all of my entire career. And Jack got up to actually over, I think, 300 pounds. Competed, I think, 250. So that's 100 pounds more than he was when he first started. But he never did beat me. A lot of respect for the man. He was, back in those days when we were inside pulling, Jack was remarkable. Oh, I'll tell you another story. So my first world championships, because I dominated the amateur division, right? It didn't matter where it was. I just pretty much would win just about everything. There's a big tournament. Have you ever heard of the Silverado Day tournament? Okay, so there was a tournament that people came in from all over the world besides Petaluma. And it was the Silverado Day tournament down there near Knott's Berry Farm. It was the World Amateur Arm Wrestling event put on by John Corbett. Do you know who John and Colleen Corbett were? So it's still, I think they still have it to this day. I'm not for certain, but it was the title everybody wanted, to win the world title amateur wise. A great event, very well ran. all the WPA of the table, or the what they call a Jeffrey Brothers table. That's the ones who actually got it promoted. That table for the over the top people. The table was actually developed by John Woolsey and Ron Bennett. They're the ones that came up with the peg table idea. And then it was pretty much marketed by the Jeffrey brothers that took it off and did some great things with it. As you saw it over the top, that was the table. So interesting part of my story is that in December of 1980, Larry Siegfried was having a world championships in Las Vegas, and everybody showed up. John Renfro, Dave Patton, Jack Wynn, Burt Whitfield. I mean, the list goes on. I think Jim Taguchi was there. Probably slaughtered his name. But the best in North America showed up this event because it was, I want to say $1,000, but I can't really remember. Well, I went there totally focused. I decided not to go and win the world title in the amateur division. I thought I'd slaughter everybody. I used to go to amateur events and they used to make me pull 2-3 weight classes up because I would just destroy everybody. So I said, no, I'm just going to go to the world championships, for the professional world championships in Vegas, see how I do. My very first match, oh my goodness, was Dave Patton.
You have my tournament luck. You really have my tournament luck. I have the same problem.
And Virgil Arcerero, and I'm not even sure he was the head referee, and I forget the other guy's name. I want to say maybe it's Bob Camp Krager. I can't remember. Anyway, so Dave and I pulled that first match. And back in those days, if you pulled someone's elbow off that pad, they lost. I pulled David's arm off that pad 7 times. And Virgil wouldn't call it. And I was like, forget this. I'm not going to wear myself out for the tournament. I'm just going to go in the loser's bracket. Because I was good at that. I mean, I used to go to the tournaments where single elimination. So you'd have people from all over North America show up. And if you lost, too bad, right? So I thought, I'm just going to go through the loser's bracket and do my thing. And that's exactly what I did. I actually went, laid down to Dave Patton. He took the win. I went through everybody. In fact, what's his name? Ernie Jeffries. Ernie Jeffries said to me, there's 2 guys you got to watch out for in this event. Jeffries said, you watch out for John Renfro and you watch out for Burt Whitfield. So I flew through those guys like they weren't even there. I had no problem with either one of them. So I went undefeated to the finals. Dave got put out by probably Jack Wynn. I'm not really for certain, actually. But Dave got put out. And I met, can you believe this? I met Jack Wynn in the finals. The guy I met walking out of the Magic Mountain tournament, he was the guy who was to pull for the first and second place. Mm-hmm. Like I told you before, Jack never beat me. And I won that. That was my first world title, December of 1980. And just went on from there. And the problem was I just kept winning everything. And you know, when you stay on top, you don't learn much. Mm-hmm. You've got to come through that loser's bracket somehow. You've got to get defeated. And I think that was the greatest thing that actually helped me become a better, more knowledgeable arm wrestler, is that I got challenged. And I would even show my opponents how to beat me, right? Because I wanted the challenge. I've always wanted to be challenged in what I do. To this day, I do the same thing. I got guys here in Idaho, you know, they're all gunning after me. They want to have a super match with me and blah, blah, blah. And I show them in the trainings. This is what you need to do. And it's good for me. Here I'll be 70 years old. Not even far from now. And I'm still training like I am. I still can't stop playing with fidget toys. Constantly looking for things to train on. I know it's a long answer, huh?
No, that's great. So from if my research shows me right, it's basically from 79 to 80. It took you sort of 1 year, and in 80 you were on top. And then throughout the 80s, you won like, what was it, 6 world titles, something like
I
that?
don't know. I don't know. There were so many different styles of arm wrestling
Different,
back
different
then.
organizations.
Different sanctions. There was a lot of money being given. I had a training partner. His name was John Buonato. You heard that name before?
No.
He actually has a win on John Brzenk at the AWI tournament in Las Vegas. Now, granted, he was on the chemical cocktail, but he had a very interesting move. John and I used to travel all over the United States, just chasing the money and just having fun, doing drugs, doing all kinds of things together. John was a good friend, and he's still around. You just never hear from him anymore. But John was a force to be reckoned with, and Brzezinski knows that.
Sure. And then I think it was sometime in the 80s you met your wife. Is that correct?
Okay, I met Carolyn, I believe, in either the end of 82 or 83. This story really should be in a book.
Yeah, no, let's see. I wrote it down here. It says 82 in my notes.
Okay, so first time we met was Wide World of Sports.
I could be wrong. You should know better than me.
Oh, not me, buddy.
I think I wrote that off your website.
I need triggers. Otherwise, I'm not going to remember anything. And that's just the way I work. I first met Carolyn, I was still into drugs and still chasing women and partying and drinking and just doing all the stuff we do in Hollywood, right? But I liked redheads. Carolyn was a redhead. So it was at the Wide World Sports Tournament in Petaluma, California. I think I'd won that year. Don't know if Dave Patton was the one I beat. I don't remember. Anyway, I saw Caroline. I just wanted to go party with her. I wanted to have a good time with her. She wouldn't have anything to do with me. So I believe it was that's in October, that World Wrestling title, right? In January, God, in his mercy, decided to give me an awakening to the point where, how can I describe this? We don't know how offensive we are to God. We don't know. God is far from us, right? And it's like it says in the book of Romans, there is no fear of God before their eyes. And that's speaking of all mankind. I didn't have any fear of God. In fact, I could speak about it because I went to Bible college, right? But it's like the word of God, which I'd memorized earlier in my life, came alive in my soul. And he showed me who I was before him, right? And what I deserved or what I've earned. Choices have consequences, right? So he showed that to me as to who I truly was before him. To make a long story short, because I recognized my condition before God and knew that Christ was my only hope, right? John 14:6, right? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Well, why would you even want to come to the Father in the first place, right? Most of us, me including, didn't recognize God as a father. I barely had one myself. Anyway, I called upon Christ because I knew that he promised eternal life to those that believe. Believe him, believe his word, trust him. And I was instantly changed, like 180 degrees at that moment. When Arnie that's a long story too. When Arnie, my roommate, came back with a couple of really hot chicks, I said, Arnie, I need to talk to you, buddy, because we were going to party with these girls. Took him back in the back bedroom, told him exactly what happened. And he, I'll say the words, God knows I have to say them. He said, you're fucking crazy. And I may have been crazy, but I was alive unto God at that time. So I think I saw Arnie maybe 3 or 4 times since then. Don't even know if he's still alive. Anyway, so see, I told you I'd go on and on. Went to this tournament called the Canadian American Championships. If you don't know what that is, you should, because we had some of the best arm wrestling tournaments in my career. They had Canadians come down from Canada and Americans from all over, the United States. And we had a blast. There was good money there. It was a great time there. Beautiful trophies if you're into trophy type things. The camaraderie, the friendships was just unreal. Dave Patton and I battled year after year. Anyway, so Carolyn comes in to the tournament with the suitcase. She'd barely made the tournament. And she needed to get her head together. So the Canadian team said, if you want to know anything about arm wrestling and how, competition, all that kind of stuff, this is why she dominated Canada. She's now going up against Americans. She said, go see that guy over there. Me. So we got talking, and they called my name. And I said, Carolyn, just a minute. I got to go dump this guy. I'll be right back. You know what she said to me? Did you read this in my history? She said, I'll be praying for you. I thought, what? She'd be praying for me? Okay. So I went up there, dumped the guy, came back. And at that time, James, and the world, you probably won't even know what this means. I came back and I asked her this poignant question. Do you profess to have faith in Christ? So there's a difference between making a profession, I believe, and possession, which I just happened to be studying at that time. Well, Carolyn knew exactly where I was going with it. And we had a conversation that probably lasted till probably 1:30 in the morning. It was, to me, looking back, and even after that, I knew that God had designed that woman to be in my life. I knew that he had brought us together to be one in him. And here we are, we'll be going on 41 years. And it's, as all relationships have, we had our ups and downs and, valleys and hills, but, God is our witness that we are heirs together of the grace of life. It's one thing we recognize. So that's how I met Carolyn. And interesting enough, she never trained for arm wrestling as far as either one of us. We never really lifted weights. We arm wrestled. When Carolyn first came on board, I'm constantly training like I'm doing now, right? Constantly training. I had to, I don't want to say show Carolyn, but if she wanted to be a champion, I think it's a different mindset. Arm wrestling in any sport is a mindset. If you plan on going anywhere, like you're an arm wrestler, it takes a different mindset to get to the place where you can achieve what you're set out to do. So I started to work with Carolyn in that. And she knew I was completely different than most people. I didn't know I had autism. I wasn't aware of a lot of things. I was just, I was intense, which is why I got the name, right? So anyway, we started training together in the garage there. Actually, no, we trained before that, but I think that's where she quit. Anyway, I have a natural lock. So if I'm arm wrestling him in training, not to say because I let up, but back then my arm would just stop, right? And she was arm wrestling with me one time, and she got hurt. Not bad, just hurt. And she stopped training with me altogether. That's okay. So she, I don't know if you know this about Carolyn, but she's had 80,000 hours of competitive gymnastics. So she was naturally strong. This was why she dominated Canada for years. I think she gained 5 world titles in her time, just completely natural, meaning, what she became, like I became, she went on to win the world titles. So she it's funny. Was it 15 years ago, 2014? There was a tournament in Las Vegas. Carolyn decided, excuse me, Carolyn went with me. WAL event, big event. Hang on a second. I got a cough. I don't know how to turn this thing off.
Oh, mute it.
Mute that thing.
Here, I can mute you. There we go.
So there's this big tournament in the WAL event, with Steve Kaplan. And do you know a lot about the WAL?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, World Arm Wrestling League. Carolyn goes with me to this tournament, and she decides to compete. Kind of talk her into it, more or less. And we're in 2 separate rooms because they've got different rooms for different weight divisions. And I'm in one room, Carolyn's in another one. She's just destroying her competition. And she hadn't arm wrestled for probably well over 10 years or more. And somebody came, I think it was Paul Stevens. I think he came in the room where I was, and he said, Carolyn was over there she's just destroying everybody. She's like, whoever it was, I think it was Paul. They were so excited. So she won that competition after all those years. Again, she's just a natural arm wrestler and has the mindset that you need to do what you're supposed to do. If you go back and watch some of her videos of her competing, she's different.
Yeah. So you met in the 80s. It was also in the 80s, I believe you had the Over the Top, probably most famous tournament. What was that like? I know there was kind of qualifiers all around the nation come together for the big tournament. Was that kind of how it went down?
Yeah, there were qualifiers everywhere, even outside the United States. Qualifiers. I mean, that tournament was just unbelievable. Lori Cole, my good friend from the days when I first started, she told me one time there was over 125 people in my weight division. How many are in your divisions today?
Like you're lucky if you get 20.
Sometimes, yeah. I can be honest with you. I only remember one guy. It was not single elimination that I remember. Maybe it was. I don't know. There was a lot of tables. There were so many people coming in that building at the Hilton there in Vegas, July of 1986. It was July 26, 1986, I believe, that they had to move people in and out. That's how many people wanted to see this event. Marvin Cohen had done some astounding advertising and got all the right people behind him. Anyway, I don't remember who I arm wrestled other than Tony Golden. Tony Golden was a young man out of Canada that was destroying everybody with an inside move. It was just, he was so powerful. He was taking out everybody. And I remember one thing for sure is that I wasn't going to let him do that to me. So what he did to everybody else in the final event, I did the same thing to him. I had so much power and energy after 21 hours of the tournament that I flew through Tony Golden as if he wasn't on the table. But apparently, somehow I wound up on top of the table, raising my arm. I just don't remember most of it. I know that I was told by several people, including my wife, that I need to get some rest. I need to sleep. I need to relax. And I couldn't. I was like a lion in a cage. And I couldn't slow down for nothing. I was determined to be who I'd become. and I couldn't be any other. I mean, I met Stallone, I met Bridget, I met so many people that were there, famous people. None of it even mattered. I really, if Stallone ever hears this, I really didn't care about Stallone or his wife or anything else. I was so focused on not so much winning the event, which was nice, five grand, but I just wanted to take everything that I'd become and bring that forward to that day, and ended up winning the 5 grand, taking the tournament, and using that $5,000 to be the down payment for our first home. So it's like, I'll tell you what, every intricate detail that in my life, every arm wrestler I've ever arm wrestled, every competition, winning or losing, challenges, it all led to one thing: what God wanted me to be, a champion.
There you go. Yeah, I've heard that story a bunch of times. It was the one I had heard was when you won the tournament, you jumped on the table.
I don't know if I jumped on the table or if he pulled me on the table. I don't know. Like it looks like I'm
pictures of it.
It looks like I'm holding his hand at one point. When I'm on the table, I'm like, that's very strange. So I don't know. There's a guy actually who probably have footage of it. His name is John Woolsey. John Woolsey was a multiple world champion in the early 70s. Incredible legend in the sport. So he probably has video, and you might be able to find some of this on My Arm TV. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
My Arm TV has a lot of the video that John took with his little, what do you call it, a camcorder?
Yeah, a little camcorder sort of thing. Yeah.
And they were big camcorders. They weren't
huge. Yeah, you gotta have the big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah. That'd be a great picture to have. I'd put that on my computer background. Up on top of the table, that'd be a fun one.
The black and white one.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed. Somebody sent it to me from the audience.
Oh, so there is a picture of it.
And to this day, I don't know. I have it. I don't know who sent it to me. I just know it was sent to me that somebody took it.
Okay.
That arena, that big arena.
So. Yeah, those videos from that tournament are awesome. I mean, I think they were running like over 10 tables. I mean, it's a bunch of tables.
You know more than I do. I know there was a lot of them. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that was kind of the first decade of your career. Tell me a little bit about the 90s. I wrote one here. There was some of the big Yukon Jack tournaments, I think, in the 90s. You versus Dave Patton, I think, in 93. And I think there's the one I sent you the picture of, and you said, "Where's that?" You remember I sent you the picture of that little infographic with your face on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, "Where's the video from that?" And then I managed to find the video of I think it was 92 and 93.
93 is when I took out Dave Patton.
Yeah.
94 is when I ripped his pectoral. But he won. He came back and won.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. It was one of the most challenging events I think I'd ever been in. Again, I had to go and arm wrestle everybody that showed up that day. Dave Patton was the only one. I mean, that place was packed. Bobby Brown was in both of those events too. But yeah, that was interesting. So what people don't know is that for years, because I was in a very strict Christian church, right? This is where God placed me. I didn't compete in sports on Sunday. In other words, arm wrestling and what have you, for years. I just felt that was an offense to God. And yet some of the biggest money title events were out there. And I just didn't go. And then when I come to an understanding of the scriptures and what the Sabbath was made for, right? The Lord's Day is for. I'm not competing for myself is what I found out. Like a lot of, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So basically you're putting your stuff before God, right? And I come to find out that day was made for God. And while I won't focus even to this day on arm wrestling or the sport itself, even if there's $100,000, it wouldn't mean anything to me. But the opportunity to be there to represent him as he's given that day, then I would be there. So, and also, I also had a problem wearing Yukon Jack. Can you pause this?
Sure, yeah, I can. I can always cut it out, but
So,
there you go. Yeah,
do you look? Can you see this?
yeah, yeah.
Look closely. What is it?
2 arms.
No, what's there? You can see it. Anyway,
Yeah, it just looks like hands. Yeah, it looks like 2 arms.
this is the World Championship jacket from Yukon Jack.
Wow.
And on the front, that you can't see, I've blackened Yukon Jack. So, as a Christian at the time, and still to this day, I wouldn't want it on my shirt or my jacket. I had a problem competing in the Yukon Jack tournaments, and because I'm representing something I don't agree with, alcohol itself. So there were, I don't know how many years it was that I didn't compete in Yukon Jack either. And I honestly believe in 1993, even though I wasn't competing that much in big events, I just kind of had taken a break, as we all do with life, right? Because you have kids and all that kind of stuff. I decided that God gave me this conviction that I need to be at Yukon Jack and compete there. So I decided to go to San Francisco, 1993. Nobody knew I was really showing up. Maybe I did. You have to compete to go to the Worlds. I can't remember. So I show up and Dave Patton's there, and he's the reigning champion. Like nobody's taking that guy out. So I go in there. I know Bobby Brown was in the event. I know Cobra Rhodes was in the event. I had all the top arm wrestlers there. And I went through all of them. Dave Patton and I had to arm wrestle. He would barely show up to the table. I don't know if he had nerve problems. I have no clue. But anyway, Dave Patton and I, we had a battle back and forth. I'm grateful that the referees were finally fair with my match, or I was probably too strong. I don't know. The referees were really never fair with me my entire career, right? Back in those days. I had a big hand. That's a big problem. Punish Alan Fisher because he's got such a big hand. And I got, in a worldly sense, I got screwed so many times, but I didn't care. If I would have let all those things bother me or get to me or affect me, I never would have become a champion. So you have to move past all those negativities. In fact, if I had some advice for anybody watching this video, you have to remove all forms of negativity, all forms of the ifs and the buts and, who's here and blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff should matter. Not one thing. To me, I'm competing against myself, right? Who I've become. And I'm the greatest challenge right there. It's not my opponent. If I give thought to my opponent, don't even care if it's John Brzezinski, which we've arm wrestled a few times. If I let John Brzezinski in my head, then I got a problem. So that's basically when I went to 93, Yukon Jack. Went through everyone that showed up, and Dave Patton and I had a battle. 1994, Dave Patton and I showed up again. I think it was San Francisco, but a different location. And went through everybody that showed up. And Dave Patton and I got in one of probably the most intense battles I think we've ever been in. I hit him so hard this way, right, that he actually tore his pec and had a divot or a dip, or what do you call it thing, an indentation in his pectoral. He told me he took like 20 Advil or whatever it was, came back. We had a battle in the finals, and he actually ends up beating me. I'd made a mistake, more or less. Dave, I'm not going to take anything away from Dave. Dave, who never had to manipulate, I'll say that. Some people would say cheat the referees, which he always did. Never had to do that. Dave trained harder than anybody that I had ever met in my entire life. He was beyond a force to be reckoned with, which is why, over 15 years, Dave and I would show up at a tournament. Everybody looked at us and they knew who was going to be on top. It was either Dave or myself. And Dave never had to complain or he's doing this or he's doing that. He never had to. And he was just unbelievably strong. I'm training with some of the greatest arm wrestlers, including John Brzenk. I was thinking about that last night. How Dave knew what a lot of people didn't even understand. I had to even get to the point where I completely understood what he was saying.
So he was very technical before a lot of people were technicals. He was technical and strong.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen him and Giannis Amelins both at their prime. I think it would have been awesome to see those two, because I think they're both in the same category, in my opinion, as professional athletes, legends, both of them. Just Giannis is astounding to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to him. I know y'all had a match. I'll get to that in a second. I was looking. There's so many titles when I was doing research to ask you about different ones, and I just wanted to ask you about one in 2001, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic. And the only reason I wanted to ask you about that one is because 2001 is when I was born, so that was the year I was born.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
you're a youngster.
So, yeah. So I just I wanted to ask you about that one because that's right around that time.
Now, 2001, was that the first year I went?
I don't know if it was the first year you won. First year you went, but I was looking at it. Said that you got first.
Is that must have been the year that? Sorry, I don't remember. If you trigger me, I'll probably remember. But was that the one where Cobra and I arm wrestled each other?
Oh, I have no idea. No,
Cobra Rhodes. I tell you what. He's different than every competitor I've ever competed in. For some reason, I told Cobra this, that God has him in my heart for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because of who he is. And again, going back to that place where I wasn't competing Sunday, Cobra went to all those events and probably won them, or Dave Patton won them. I'm not sure. But I had qualified for the Arnold Classics. I really don't remember what year it was, but I can tell you this. The year Cobra was there, and I don't think Crazy George was there. If he was, I don't remember. He's the one that won the event every time he went. I don't think he ever lost, to my knowledge, the event itself. But there was a time when, you're down on the floor and you have to go up these stairs to get to the stage. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but my adrenaline and endorphins were off the charts. I couldn't control them. When they called my name, I couldn't even see the stairs because they were shaking in my mind as I looked at them. I was shaking like crazy, trying to get up those stairs to arm wrestle that day with Cobra. And he was the main one, which is so weird. That's why I say he's in my heart. I don't even know why, but went up there against Cobra and didn't have any issues with him. Right? Never really had a problem with Cobra. I made a mistake one time in Colorado, I believe, with the NAL tournament, where I made a mistake and he actually ends up beating me. Cobra's a trickster. That's why he's called Cobra. Cobra's a snake, right? And he's got so much talent behind him and so much power, speed, and knowledge that people didn't have, just like Dave Patton, that you can't give him a quarter of an inch. He'll get you in weird positions. But Cobra and I have had a great time over the years arm wrestling. Have a lot of tons of respect for him. Love him deeply.
Wonderful. Yeah. So now I'll get to the the you versus Giannis in the series 2014 WAL. So I believe you all went undefeated and y'all were in the finals. Tell me a little bit about WAL, the tournament, because that was, I mean, for a lot of people, maybe my age, even a little bit older, that was a lot of people's introduction to arm wrestling. Yes, getting on ESPN, I believe it was on ESPN, the like Buffalo Wild Wings, the big promotion. It was kind of this big moment for a lot of people in terms of arm wrestling getting mainstream.
Yeah, that the WL event with Steve Kaplan and in that group was an astounding time. That kind of reminded me a lot of the days of Petaluma and somewhat beyond, because the professional setup was just astounding. The entire team behind that group was amazing. There was the people from the Deadliest Catch. I don't know if you know that or not. So the executive producers, Dan Alani, Ethan Prochnick, and why can't I think of his name? Matt Renner, and others were behind that. They had an entire group that had got together with Steve Kaplan. If you don't know who Steve Kaplan is, look him up. SteveKaplanLive.com, I believe. Anyway, they knew how to gather the crowds. They knew how to entertain the audience. They knew what they needed to do. So he put on some of the best events, and everybody came out for them. There was monies, there was titles, there was just everything you could imagine. TV, none of that stuff really matters to me. Money does. It's nice to have the cash, and it could be an incentive. I've had times where I've arm wrestled. Who's the guy that Robert Drink? Do you know him, with the UAL, the Ultimate Arm Wrestling League?
Right.
Robert would put on some great events, very similar to Steve Kaplan's events. He had the money, he had the backing, but I remember he would just, it was for arm wrestling, let's say for $2,000 in the finals, because we'd had such great battles. He'd take another $1,000, throw it right on the table. Well, you don't want to do that to me, because I'm getting that $1,000, right? So, and it was really cool. Steve Kaplan capitalized on that too. He would do that and throw money down for, seeing great battles. Giannis, it was really interesting. You just mentioned something that people don't get. We had to battle so many others to get to the finals.
Yeah, and big bracket style, right? I mean, big. You had to get there, and then you had to beat everybody.
Right. Yeah. And those people weren't slouches, man. These are the best in North America. My thing is, they'd always come up to me and say, "How are you going to do? Are you going to win?" I have no idea. All my career, I have no idea whether I'm going to win. I just know I came there for a purpose, and I'll say, we'll see. And the beautiful thing about arm wrestling outside of super matches, which, I have my views about super matches. I like the fact that we can get in there and have 20, 30, 40 arm wrestlers, the best there is, and we all battle each other for the top. That's my style of arm wrestling, not super matches, right? And you've got to really train for super matches in a different way, completely. So while I've done them, I like the other style better, if I could say that. So I'm not going to say this as an excuse. Giannis is by far one of the greatest arm wrestlers on this planet that's ever lived, in my opinion. And he doesn't cheat. He doesn't manipulate. He's smart, right? But going into the finals, because of what I did and being older, 2014? I don't know. I'm 70 now. So go back. How many? I'm not good at math. But I was older. I had adrenal exhaustion when I arm wrestled him. And I think if we would have met each other earlier, I believe I could have beat him. But in that final event, I just had adrenal exhaustion. I was kind of wondering, what am I going to do? So my mindset was focused on adrenal exhaustion. Again, you can't take your mind outside of your purpose, but I couldn't help it. It's like the time when the WAL had an event somewhere back east. I want to see Chicago. And Tony Kutowski was there. I don't know if you know Tony Kutowski. Just all the big names, the guys that went beyond that 176 and went up over 200 pounds, which I weigh 161 pounds, right? And most of my career, I've been in 160, 165. Even for roll at the top, I had to eat 250 cookies, giant cookies, 14 cheesecakes. I couldn't get my weight up. I burn everything. But I was trying to get up there where I could be, whereas 169, I believe, was the class. Anyway, going back to my story, so anyway, there was a tournament where I think it was Chicago, WAL event, big event. I had I think the air conditioners, something was happening in that sports bar where my water content was not there. I was eating bananas. I was drinking water. I don't drink sodas and all that kind of stuff, or beers and stuff. I just try to keep myself hydrated. So here's this big event, televised event, where I couldn't get enough fluids in me. I was drinking Pedialyte. I was doing everything. And I said to, trying to think, it was Ethan Prochnick, the executive producer again of The Deadliest Catch, and somebody else that was with that show. And Steve Kaplan. I said, I think I'm going to have to drop out. I was in cramps. I couldn't do anything about it. And they convinced me to stay in or drop out. Either way, I decided just to stay in the event. I mean, I couldn't go like this to get my hand in my pocket. I had lost my water content somehow. It was just coming out of me. I was sweating like crazy. And I ended up going against Tony Kutowski, I think, in the finals. Luke Kent was there. They're all there, right? In fact, Luke Kent, I'll never forget that, was complaining because he couldn't get a grip on me. And none of that stuff mattered. I tried to stay focused, and I actually ended up winning the event, which is astounding to me because I was not doing too well. So when I say I had adrenal exhaustion up against that match with Giannis, that is the truth. It's not an excuse. So he beat me fair and square, and he's just so good. I have so much respect for that guy.
Yeah. And then I think it was around that time, because you mentioned the Deadliest Catch folks. I think it was around that time you had a match with Don Underwood. That was kind of, they according to my research, was sort of the influence, the inspiration partly for the Game of Arms show.
Yes. So let's go back a little bit of history, which is kind of cool to see this. Robert Drink had started up the Ultimate Arm Wrestling League, right? And Robert had money and he had great backers, right? Very well ran event. And Bill Collins has that today. Bill Collins is the WAL. I think Robert sold it to Bill Collins. Bill and I go back a long ways. He's one of the greatest promoters that ain't out there. Loves the sport. So Robert Drink was getting a TV show on, like, trying to get us recognized. And again, I don't care about the recognition thing. He used to put people on Lear jets and take them all over the country, right? I'm not interested in that sort of thing. I just want to compete because I want the challenge. And plus, I'm just like anybody else. I'm just flesh and blood, right? The name Alan Fisher, let it burn in hell. But it doesn't really matter to me, all these things. Again, I like the money. But so Robert Drink was trying to get a team together to do a TV show. And in Hollywood, there was this talk amongst all the big networks. They wanted arm wrestling reality show. So the people from the Deadliest Catch, the names I mentioned earlier, they had contacted me during this time that Robert was starting to take off, right? Get big time. Had a conversation with them, with Carolyn in my living room. A guy named Matt Renner and Ethan Prochnick were on the phone. And they really wanted to do some stuff with arm wrestling. And they knew I had a lot of knowledge from that first event. What you're talking about is called the Ryan Sheets Memorial Event in Bakersfield, California. Again, on the West Coast, that tournament for years was very well ran, or run, however you say it. My wife would be correcting me. Was the WPAA table, the donut cup table, pad table. And the Sheets family had put that on for their son, who was a wrestler, not an arm wrestler, but a wrestler, also liked arm wrestling, apparently. They put on this event. And it was not a televised event or anything like that, but it gained some recognition being in Bakersfield, close to where wrestling started. Well, they said they were going to come out. No, they just showed up at this event unannounced. And I was the one that pretty much had dominated the event. They had a lot of respect for me, probably too much. But I win that event every time I went. Well, there were several of those executive producers and film people from the Deadliest Catch in the audience down there, in front of the stage, filming this thing. The night before, I always go in 2-3 nights before an event to get acclimated to everything. Don Underwood shows up. And I think it was Ethan Prochnick, Dan Alani. I don't think Matt was there at the time, but we were in a sports bar. Was it a sports bar? Or was it the same place you've been? No, it was a sports bar. And Don was there. And, I'm not a drinker. I'm just going there because they want me to show up. Just talk to me. Don shows up, and we used to get chatting about different things. And if you know Don in any way, he can say a lot of things. He's a shit talker. I've never met a shit talker. And Don is Don. He's just going to be who he is. But I knew that night I got in his head. Because I don't play those games they play. I'm not interested in that. I'm there for a purpose, and it's not to prove that I can beat Don Underwood, right? Plus, I weigh 162 pounds, and he weighs 336 pounds. What's my chance, right, of doing, is it 336? I forget. I think it's in the video. Anyway, Don's rated the number 6 super heavyweight in the world. And he's got a good head on his shoulder, right, for a professional athlete. So anyway, Don and I, the next day, my purpose is to what? Just to be who I am, nothing else, right? If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. I'm just trying to be who God made me. So I go undefeated. I think Luke Pitt was there. I'm not sure. Boston Savoya, and some other really big names. And I go undefeated. Don goes undefeated. And we show up at the overall championships. You know what that is?
Yeah.
So all the winners going up against the winner. And Don and I, we destroy everybody. We meet each other in the finals for that overall tournament. And like I said, I believe I was in Don's head. I knew he didn't stand a chance because I was plaguing him, if I could say that. I think he knew it. So anyway, I ended up beating Don. I don't remember the details of it, but I have to go back and watch. But all I heard Don complain was there was something wrong with his thumb. But why wasn't there something wrong with his thumb throughout the whole event? So I obviously had something that Don didn't like. Yeah, probably my giant hand. I don't know. But that was a great event. That was the beginning of the Game of Arms. If you go to YouTube, I put a video out there called The Beginning of the Game of Arms. And you can watch the story. You can watch what happened and how it all started. So the Game of Arms beginning was in Bakersfield, California. And then I kind of walked away from the Robert Drink thing because I really didn't care about being flown around in jets. It didn't matter to me. But I did want to continue in the sport. You know, I wanted it to go wherever I thought it would go to help grow our sport. So that's what I did. Was I stayed with the WAL, became part of the team. Travis Bajan, a lot of other people. A lot of the rules came from Travis Bajan, by the way. That was his influence, you might say, on that. I think everybody knows that. You pause that thing so I can call.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and then Steve Kaplan and his team, the Deadliest Catch people I mentioned, now where did all those arm wrestlers come from? Does anybody know? Ethan Prochnick, Dan Alani, and Matt Renner came to me personally because they knew I was in the sport a long time and knew a lot of people. And I'm not sure to say this or not, but they paid me to find information, arm wrestlers, athletes. Many I disagreed with, many they went with. And that's how that started. It's like, okay, I gave them all of my VCRs, a giant box of VCRs over the years. And I said, you guys can borrow these, no problem. But I want them returned with them all being put on DVD. So they took all these videotapes that I had over the years and they put them on DVD for me. They went through all of those videos to come up with the idea of the Game of Arms arm wrestling table. You saw that arm wrestling table that they used. I have pictures of the original. That was all developed because of the research they'd done in what I gave them. That was my arm wrestling table that they actually, I think I sold to them. I can't remember. I probably sold it to them. And they developed everything around that table, the original table.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a cool experience to be able to travel all over the United States with this team called the Sacramento Armbenders and be challenged. Our biggest problem with the WAL event in the beginning of the first season, and I don't know if you know this, James, but our first episode was what aired in Hollywood down there. They showed it on a big screen with all the executive producers, with all the people, the backers, everybody that was in that room down in Hollywood. Carol and I got invited to come to it. I don't think anybody else showed up, but we showed up there, and they've had all these people that I didn't even know, but they were the guys that supported it, right? Not just executive producers, everybody you can imagine. This sports bar was full of these people, and they showed the first episode on a giant screen, and all the people that were supporting it financially or any other way, they were all on their phones doing this, looking to see the comments, watching the comments through the whole thing. Did you know that first episode actually had over 1 million viewers?
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So they knew they had
it was a big deal.
Success for the first event. It was incredible. They knew that they had a successful TV program to do. So we traveled around the country with all these, was there 5 or 6 teams or something? It was a beautiful experience.
Wow. Yeah.
And then our second season, just so people know, so we're all sitting back, waiting. Are they going to green light? They call it green light the second season. So they got, if you watched anything on the media, they greenlit the second season. They brought in Devin Larratt down from Ottawa, Canada, to be on our team in the Sacramento Armbenders. He was practically my roommate, more or less, right? We had great times. Well, we went in undefeated, and we destroyed everybody. Not just because of Devin, but all of us has stepped it up in a major way. There were Sacramento Armwrestlers. Some of the team players went, and we got new ones, but no one was beating us. And then we were out in the sand dunes somewhere in Northern California, and we got a call or they got a call to saying we all have to go back to our hotel room where we're staying. And we're to stay there until further notice. Well, what we found out was the bigwigs over in New York, that was, AMC, they had closed down, put an end to all unscripted shows. The Game of Arms was completely unscripted. We weren't told to say things and act things, and this is all real stuff, right? So we, at that time, we were told that I think we were told that the show had come to an end. The executive producers and whoever they are up there in AMC, they were making so much money with the Breaking Bad and the Walking Dead. They didn't need any unscripted shows, right? It's like money's coming out of their pockets to support us in a sense. So the show came to an end. They still paid us like, we're all compensated for the entire season, which was really cool. It was a nice chunk of change, but it all came to an end, which is pretty sad. And there was a lot of people throughout the world that said, bring it back.
Yeah.
AMC said no.
You think will they ever bring it back?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Plus, a lot of those guys don't even arm wrestle anymore.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
a lot of them. Devin and we're still here. Luke Kent's here. But Mike McGraw, he still trains a group down there in Northern California. Yeah, it's all pretty much done. Kenny's gone. Kenny's no longer with us. So yeah, I don't think he'll ever come back.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, let's move forward even a little bit farther. So it's kind of the WAL starts getting big. COVID, of course, really halted things for a bit, but there was a push there kind of after that into the 2020s, social media, Devin. And I think you had a couple of kind of spotlights put on you, a couple of notable fitness YouTubers. I think one of the ones maybe people might know you from is the prank videos in 2020, Arm Wrestling Grandpa, right? How did some of those come about?
Yeah, it's Brandon Williams' YouTube channel. The kid started when he was 13 years old, so he's become very successful at what he's been doing, and has some great videos. If you don't watch his channel, you should subscribe to it and support him, because that's how he makes a living. And it's not just me that's on there; it's people from all over the world. It's very, very cool. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the beginning. If he just came to me, just wanted to start arm wrestling, or if he just wanted to do a segment on me. I think he probably saw me somewhere and came over and did that first video with Caroline in it. It was pretty awesome. I mean, it's great to see professionals at work, right? Experts at work. Because I've been on TV shows. I've had the lights, camera, action, all that kind of stuff. But to see someone that is not have that kind of funding out there being supported like he is, it's because he's so good at what he does, right? Brandon does a great job, and he's moving forward with his life. I'm honored that he even continues to have me on his show. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when I start to go towards 71, if he still has me.
Yeah, because y'all did more than one video. I think the first one that you're talking about came to your house, saw how you trained, how you dieted, and things like that.
Yes.
And then later on you did the The one in I think it was right there on the strip, right out in front of
Oh, the
everybody.
Muscle Beach one?
Yeah, I think it was the
Yeah,
Muscle
Muscle Beach. Oh, that's so much fun. The time of year you go is important, because there are thousands of people down there. So you got a captive audience, which is pretty cool. I think what really got this thing, um, viewers, lots and lots of viewers, is Greg showing up out of nowhere. Greg Sharp, right?
Yeah.
The guy who's putting on the World Arm Wrestling Series. And if you're not watching that, you got to start watching it, because Greg Sharp is the future for what the WAL was, right? Greg is just out there. Do you see how many tournaments he's putting on this year?
12? Is it like 12 or something like that?
I just saw the list. I didn't.
Yeah, some 10 over 10, and then the big ones.
Here's a guy that's an executive producer himself.
Yeah.
Loves arm wrestling. Great promoter. He's done so many. I don't even know how the guy breathes. Like, where do you get all that time to do this? And now he's going to be traveling all over the United States to put on another World Series of Arm Wrestling event with some crazy money, right? The sad part that I believe is I think he needs a 165-pound class. When you're going in that 176-pound class, you look at it, guys that are 200 pounds and over coming down to 176. I've heard it said not just by me, but by many others. You look at some of those guys and they shouldn't be in the 176-pound class. It's just crazy. But needless to say,
that's the problem I always have.
Greg is doing a great job out there.
Yeah. I can walk around at 176,
Yeah.
And I've cut to 155. I can walk around 160 and just kind of drop 5 pounds to go to 155. But when you're pulling 176 and you are 176 and somebody cut from 200 to make it a 176, I remember the first time I looked at this guy, David Redman at South Carolina, Honky Tonk Saloon. He wound up winning the whole thing. And I'm looking at him, I'm going, this guy's not 176 pounds. There's no way.
Wow.
He was like 210 on stage.
Yep.
He got like 30 pounds. It was crazy.
I'll never forget the time, Justin Bishop showed up. And Justin's at least 190 pounds, I think, back in those days. And it was Justin and I think Tony Kotowski, maybe somebody else, that they were sitting there waiting for the weigh-ins to start with their backs against the wall, sitting on the ground. They looked like they had lost all their water. They didn't look like they're in good shape at all. So they had sucked it all out to make weight for that weight class.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not Tony, but I think Justin Bishop actually ends up winning that year. I was there, Tony. I mean, the names that were there were just crazy to think that they could make that weight. But look at Justin Bishop today. Justin is proving himself to be one of the best arm wrestlers on the planet. He's just right and left-handed. He's just crazy strong.
Yeah. So you had some of those social media moments, and then somewhat recently you moved to, is it Idaho? I believe Idaho.
Yeah. We moved to near Boise.
Yeah.
Love it. Been here. We're going to be going on. Is it 2 years, 3 years? I forget.
Was there a particular reason for the move? Is it family or?
What's a particular reason I moved here?
Yeah,
I think
you just moved just because.
Think about it this way. Okay, as you're aware, I have a lot of honor and respect for God and His Word, right? If you remove all that, right? So I'm not a Christian, I'm not anything, right? Those things, people, ideas, beliefs that we were forced to not buck up against, right? Not have any say-so in. Financially supporting all that crap on a human level, right? There was something wrong.
Yeah.
And to this day, there's something wrong. The thieves, the liars, the deceivers, the corruption, the fraud that's even throughout the United States, but many, even California, it was time to go.
Yeah.
But as a Christian and one who wants to esteem the word of God,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to tell my children, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Right. And yet they're young adults, but they're coming to me like, you keep telling us, and other people are saying this, that God was in control of all this, that it doesn't seem like it. It seems like the wicked, right, the ungodly, are overriding God. Like he's not on the throne as much as you think he is. I really was struggling as to how to answer that. And God led me to Romans chapter 1, verse 18 through chapter 3, verse 20. And it's my go-to to this day, that it explains everything that's happening in the world or has ever happened and will happen. That we are not walking with God. We don't want to even hear from him unless we can somehow control what he's saying or control him or have some say so in what he says. That's the God will accept, right? A God that isn't sovereign, if I can say that word, but man, us as men, we want to give God place like they just did during the holiday season, right? Mm-hmm. Jesus had this little birth thing and all those wonderful hymns or songs that are being sung. We'll give him place, once a year, but that's all done. Yep. It's all done.
Yep.
Right? Here's the beautiful part. Jesus is still on the throne, mm-hmm. and he's waiting, expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. And the very breath that you're breathing right now, and I'm breathing, is from him. So all those abilities, all those strengths, all those desires, all the places you want to go and be who you become, it's him. And you'll answer to him for all of his goodness, for all of his mercies. It says the goodness of God leads you to repentance. Well, what is that goodness? When you study it, what is the goodness of God in life? The main part is God is holding back his judgment. He's holding back what we rightfully deserve. And we take that and we run with it and say, we're in control. You're not over us. So it was time to leave California. California was, to this day, I try to not bring this up every day, is to be someone that just wants to just talk about it. I'm grateful that God let us leave, that God made a way of escape, and that we're here. And I tell you what, the opportunities that God has opened up here for us in arm wrestling and it's everywhere we go, because I'm retired. I've been retired since 2000, but semi-retired, but I'm retired. But I got to tell you a story. This to me is so interesting to show you how God orchestrates everything in our lives, right? I come up here, 3 years ago in October. My brother lives in Star. Just want to come up and visit him. And we're not a really close family, but because of my brother, we are probably, he's the one that kept us together, I think. So I come up here and they find out I'm going to be here for a short time. They want to have a training, workout gathering at a place called Berserker Strength and Conditioning in Boise. So I show up there. I think that we had like 32 people show up. It was so awesome, right? Because I had that many people down there in San Diego when I was training people. It was just great. So we leave, go back, and all these thoughts that I just told you about are running through my mind, right? There's just something wrong with this place. Carolyn had lost her job because she wouldn't get vaxxed. And they really came against her hard, her and a lot of others. So it was time to go. So I don't know, we knew that it was time to leave. Carolyn had lost her job. And if you know anything about Carolyn, she's up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, cleaning the house, doing things that, I just don't see most women like that. These most women I met, right? She's just a go-getter with everything. She just cleans and serves 24/7, Anyway, we lived in our house from 1989 to what, 3 years ago. I'm not good at math again. So we accumulated so much stuff. Have you ever seen my workout room in San Diego? The outside?
I've seen some videos of it, I think. Yeah.
I mean, you can see how much stuff I accumulated. Yeah. Even though I don't lift weights and I don't do any of that stuff. And I mean, they had all that stuff for those guys if they wanted to use it, cable machines, torque machines, you name it. I had just everything. And I like inventing things too. I like coming up with concepts and then building things. And one of these days, I'll probably put some of that stuff out so people can see and they can come up with their own stuff. Even to the place where, do you know who Paul Stevens is? Mm-mm. Paul Stevens lives down there in San Diego. He trained with me when he started when he was 17 years old. I think he's in his 50s. Sorry, Paul. But we had this machine that this thing we developed. I think it was on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a weight you would drop as 135 pounds. You would drop it from 6 feet in the air and let it just free fall, and you were to catch it as it free fell. So it's things like that I developed over time. But yeah, it was time to go. So Carolyn lost her job. We wanted to look into the market to see if we could sell our house. We found an awesome guy. Joe Violi is his name. Joe Violi from San Diego. He's him and his dad. They've been in real estate for like over 50 years. Joe's a great guy. Probably one of the best real estate agents I ever met in my entire life. And we've known a lot. Even up here, I know a lot. He's not a pusher, which, a lot of real estate people, they just do want to just get out there and push your home. No, he met us where we were at that time. God provided for us at that time with Joe. I wanted to wait a year to sell the house, to get rid of all the crap, right? Now, Carol and I, we work on our home, right? We don't just live in the home. We're constantly tearing down walls, changing windows, you name it. We did everything. Changed all the floors, get rid of the popcorn ceilings. I mean, it was quite a work. So God in his amazing providence had provided all these windows practically for free for our home. We just had to put them in. Well, I've been in the glass trade. Go figure, right? So you see how God orchestrates everything? So her and I put in these windows. She's a hard worker. I'm telling you what, the things she does. So we put all these windows in, new doors, new floors, everything. And when it was time to sell, our house was ready to sell. Can you believe this? We needed a new roof. It wasn't leaking, but it had 3 layers on it, right? We just poured this huge thing of concrete out in the back for Austin for a pool because, he can't exercise, but he could swim, get in the water and do some movement. So he just done that. We just poured some other concrete for some more part of my workout room. And so Joe always says, what do you guys want? You want to sell it here? It's fine. You want to sell it in 3 or 4 months? It's fine, whatever. Carolyn had believed and strongly believed she could sell the house within the next, 2-3 months. Get it ready. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff we got rid of. 3,600 pounds of stuff we just dumped. But you still have a house. So anyway, that means I had to get rid of all the workout stuff. I wasn't going to take it to Idaho. That would have been another 4,000 pounds probably. So the arm wrestlers, a lot of it was given away. A lot of it was sold. Benji Mack. Do you know who Benjamin is? Another YouTuber you should be following. Benjamin Mack. Benji Mack, I think what is his YouTube channel? I forget. Anyway, he's the videographer for East versus West and for other groups. So Benji's got all my trophies, my world championship trophies. I think I kept one, and I think it's an international trophy, which is my 27th world title. I never counted an international trophy as a world title. So I always thought I had 26, but I actually have 27. So I think I kept that. Benji's got everything. He's got shirts, jackets. He's got my over-the-top table that I built for over-the-top. He's got a virtual museum of stuff from Alan Fisher, the great Alan Fisher. And I love the guy. He's great. He's always been there for me. So anyway, lo and behold, Carolyn, who didn't have a job, and God providing for us, was able to get rid of all that stuff. I mean, she worked daily to get rid of it. And God said, "You're leaving." Joe Violi sold our home for a good chunk of change, $750,000, right? We bought it for $139,500. And we came up here cash rich. We looked at, what did we look at? Well over 24 homes. We thought for sure God had placed us in, I thought for sure God had placed us in one of them. It fell through. Because apparently up here you can share what you bid to other real estate agents. It's so dumb. So we didn't get the home that I thought we were going to be in. And we saw another home. I'm just rambling, so you can take all this stuff out. We saw another home that we thought for sure we were getting. In fact, we actually paid $470, I think, to have it inspected. We were so convinced this would be our home. And we found out during the inspection there were some problems. And I'm older, Carolyn's older. We don't want to work on homes anymore, right? We would, right, if we had to. I still feel like I got my sense about me still. I'm still not going to give up. Anyway, we're sitting at the Border Town Coffee there in Star with a real estate agent. We looked at a couple homes, and he's basically saying, like, I can continue to show you homes if you like. And I'm looking on my iPad, and I see this home not too far from where we are. And I said, I think we should go look at this because do you know what HOA is?
Yeah, homeowner association.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing we did not want was an HOA home. I hate that monthly payment crap. And they said, no way. We're just going to get a home that's not HOA. So I started to say, well, maybe we should. So there's this home, like maybe 2 miles from where we are. I said to our real estate agent, we should probably go look at this. And he says, yeah, let's go. So we went down there, we walked in this home. Right across the street from where we live is a huge field. They have to build recreational fields here. You don't find home, nope, nothing in between. They're by law, they have to have places for water, they have to have places for kids to play, for dogs to play, parks. They're huge up here. So walk out our front door, and across the street is this huge grass area where you can walk your dog, play with the kids, whatever, right? We're also in a place where on our block, there's 6 homes on our side. That's it, 6 homes. Across the street is one to the left of that grass area and one to the right. And that's it. Behind us is a cemetery, a large cemetery. Well, for this area, it's a large cemetery. I have no problem with that. So we looked at this home, we walked in, we're both looked at each other and said, this is it. It's like when we first saw each other and we knew that we were made to be with each other. We looked at this home and said, this is it. We barely walked in the door. We just knew it. So we put a bid on the home. And here's the interesting, I got to tell you some interesting about God's providence, okay? Out back is a $30,000 add-on in our backyard, like a covering, concrete, the whole thing, sprinkler system, all part of, if you buy the home, you get this. And then some other very cool features in the front. The builder here that we got is one of the high-end builders, right? So we put a bid on our home. You pretty much bought it for cash, right? Because of all that cash money. So we were, again, God somehow, through our hard work, through our hard labors and our sticking with each other and following God's orders, right? Just putting him above everything. We came away from San Diego with a huge chunk of change. And we got this house. And every day we walk in it, our hearts are just so grateful that God gave us such a beautiful home. Neighbors, awesome. Most of them come from California. Most interesting thing. They're not Roman Catholics, most of them, that have kind of not really followed the faith. There's a few Mormons around, but not many. Everybody kind of stays themselves. Carolyn's made some great friends. If you knew Carolyn, she can make friends with people. You go to like a coffee joint, like we do, and you'll know Carolyn's in the room because she wants to meet you. She wants to, she lives to the glory of God, and she's looking for that opportunity to talk to someone just like me. In fact, she's out right now with the lady she just met, sharing the gospel with her, right? It's just such a beautiful thing.
Wonderful. Well, I'll wrap this. The last question. I'm going to put two questions together, and I will call it the last question. All right. You're about to turn 70. That was one of the things we were talking about. That was I wanted to interview. Something special. What are your plans? I mean, you've been in the sport for so long. Do you still have goals at 70 to arm wrestle? Do you still have those? What are your focuses? And then beyond that, why do you still love the sport? What's so wonderful about it?
I love the sport for this reason. God gave me a platform. At first, I thought the platform was me, right? With all the incredible abilities he gave me with a hand at 150 pounds, I had a giant hand, right? I was strong. Like I told you, I used to just rip and tear things. Just give it to me, I'll take it apart. You can't, I will. Since that day that God gave me his Holy Spirit, and I'm not talking about speaking in tongues and all that crap. I'm talking about when I became a born-again Christian, when I became the Lord came in me, right? Gave me his Holy Spirit in me. I knew I was going to be an arm wrestler the rest of my life before I was a Christian. But now I knew that this was the platform God gave me to represent him and the life he gave for me. That's always been my goal. I'll never forget the day I sat down with Dave Patton in Reno, Nevada, and I got to give him the gospel. My goal to this day, yes, I'm still an arm wrestler, right? And I want to compete. But coming up here to Idaho, my goal was not to come up here and thrash everybody, right? To destroy everybody. My goal is I've always been a mentor, a coach, a friend, someone that would be there for those who want to learn. And I got to tell you the story because I think this is very important. I missed it. When I came up here and the team, there was really kind of no team, but guys got together. A guy named Jay Hagedorn, you can look him up, Jay Hagedorn, Berserkers, Strength and Conditioning. He was there that day in October when I showed up with the 32 people I told you about. Have fun editing this, by the way. Jay was off to the side. He's a big guy, like Dave Depew. You know who Dave Depew is?
Mm-mm.
You don't
Maybe.
know.
That
Dave
sounds familiar.
Depew is nationally known. He owns a place called the Grinder Gym in San Diego. Okay, that's another story in itself. You can do a 10-part story on this thing. So Jay Hagedorn owns Berserkers Strength and Conditioning here in the Treasure Valley. I think he has 4 of them. Jay was off to the side watching me train these groups, and he was impressed. But I didn't know who Jay Hagedorn was. I didn't even know he was the owner of this place. Later on, when we met again at this Berserkers, Jay was there, and he came over to me, introduced himself, and he said, I'd like to know if you're interested in training people here at the gym in arm wrestling. And I looked at him and I said, man, it sounds great. And Jay looked at me and he said, but your main purpose is to give the gospel to people. Wow, James, can you believe that? That God who orchestrated everything in my life, every moment, every second, every place I've ever been, has me there in his gym, and he says, I want you to train people, but you have one purpose. I'm like, oh my goodness. Is this God using the affairs of men, right? The events of men to bring about his plan? So that's what I do. I train people there at Berserkers. And it's just been awesome. And have I been able to give the gospel? You have no idea. I've been able to speak with people personally about the Lord, about their need for Christ, about if you're a Christian, get back on the road you should be on. You name it. Just the other day, same thing happened. And pray for the witness, pray for the testimony. To me, that's everything. So what about arm wrestling competitions? I'm not paying my way anymore to competitions. I'm pretty much done with that. We have a disabled son who I need to support. And as I get asked all the time about a super match, about coming to a competition, about making an appearance, I need to be fully financially supported. Super matches is a whole different thing. They've got to agree with the rules that I've come away with after 46 years. Sorry, Devin, I love you, brother, but I don't believe in the King's move, and I don't want to push it. So that'll never be allowed in our competitions. Never. And in my super matches, not allowed. Don't even come to me saying you want me to super match you if you want to do the King's move. I just don't think that is the future of arm wrestling. I don't think that new people should be taught this move or get into this move. You know, Devin Lorette, and I believe it was Travis Bajan years ago. Man, I probably had the video on my computer. They said the only ones that should be doing the King's move are elite arm wrestlers. I agree with that. But again, I don't believe in it, so I wouldn't even push it.
Yeah.
You know, let's go back to old style arm wrestling. Muscle to muscle. Tendon against tendon. Bone against bone. Position against position without cheating, right? Sorry, there's a little fly. So yes, I still arm wrestle. I still compete. But I'm going to be compensated for appearances, for arm wrestling, for competitions. It's the only way you're probably going to see me compete. But I don't have a problem. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to get a hold of the Schmidt brothers here in Idaho. three brothers that are like, they're all under 25, and they are some of the most powerful people I've ever met. In fact, one kid, his name is Tristan Schmidt. He's actually close to a world record in some of his lifting. They're not really arm wrestlers, but they're getting into it now. So I get to train them. I get to train with Robert Oberst. Do you know who he is?
That's a name I know. Yeah.
Robert Oberst shows up to our training every now and then. That's a real honor to have him with us. He's got a ways to go, but if he sticks with it, I think he's got great potential. He's a big man too. Big guy. So you'll see him in some of the videos I'm going to be sharing. I have so much stuff. I probably have 2,000 videos that need to go up on the internet. And let me just say this in closing. While I appreciate your time with me here and being able to share the history that God has placed me in, I'm always willing to talk to people and have them contact me. I love giving back what God gave me and sharing what I've learned and being hyper aware of things and having this not being able to give up. I've been asked to retire by my wife so many times. I can't retire until God tells me I'm done. I still believe it's my platform, and having the opportunities to do what I do is just wonderful. There are two guys, by the way, that are promised to get videos out there of hour-long videos they did of me. Benji Mack is one of them, and the other one is Gabriel Young. You know Gabriel? Another guy you should be following his YouTube channel. Gabriel Young is Y-U-N-G. They interviewed me before I left San Diego, and I think it needs to be out there for sure. Gabriel's become very successful after graduating, so he's super busy. But Benjamin Mack, you got to start following him. You know, our videographer for East versus West and other events. He's really out there to promote the sport, and he doesn't really get paid like in a major way. Some support, but he definitely is one you should be following. So, am I still competing? Yes, of course I am, but I'm not here to thrash anybody. I still like the challenge. Mostly have become more because people financially are not going to meet my requirements. So I'll continue to be a trainer, a coach, mentor, a friend, just giving back in the ways in which I've been given stuff. So I appreciate you, my friend. And I hope this all goes well. Have fun with your compiling all this together. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
There's the crazy stuff. There's so much more that can be said. But if anything, make sure people look at armwrestlingtraining.com, because it leads to my YouTube channel where my training stuff is. Like all my principles of training, coaching, and stuff is out there. Stuff that people haven't seen if they don't know about the channel.
Yeah.
Armwrestlingtraining.com.
Yeah. We'll get it out there.
Awesome. God bless you, my friend.
Bless you too.